Hi, how's everybody doing? I just wanted to take about a half an hour or so just to go over some of the latest news topics that have been weighing heavily on my mind, including the Ukraine situation, the Canadian Trucker Freedom Rally that's now blocking the Ambassador Bridge coming into my state, which is Michigan, and this adorable video where these little kids celebrate the end of having to wear face masks all day. I can't imagine what it would be like to be a kid and have to be in a mask for 6 or 7 hours a day when I can barely stand wearing one, going into the doctor's office or the dentist when you're waiting there and your glasses are steaming up. My heart goes out to these kids for sure. And then all day I've been watching Fox News here and there. I have it in the background, and every other minute it's Fox News alert. The invasion of Ukraine is imminent, and they're telling Americans, you better evacuate. I don't know what's become of our country. I honestly remember a time when I was little, Ronald Reagan was president. And I remember a time when we had strength through force. And Donald Trump, when he was president, it reminded me of when Ronald Reagan was president, where you don't mess with America. And now it's like, how can we capitulate? What can we do to please you so you won't invade a free nation in Europe? It's not making a lot of sense to me. I mean, it makes sense because I know a lot of these politicians are in bed with China and Russia. But as far as being an American, I think we need to have peace through strength. That's always the best policy. So I'm going to start out. I wanted to show you this adorable little video with these kids. And then I want to move on to the Bob Jones prophecy. He actually prophesied that the geese would go first and then the eagle. And it's a prophecy relating to this Canadian Freedom Rally. So I wanted to show you, let's see here. I want to show you the video with the kids. It's really cute.
Starting tomorrow, we don't have to wear masks anymore! Is anybody excited?
Can you imagine these poor little kids having to wear a face covering all those hours during the day? They're trying to learn how to read, how to pronounce words. And I remember when I was a kid, I would learn how to pronounce certain words by watching the teacher move her lips and see the way words are formed. And if you make a little kid cover their face, and they're not going to learn how to read people's emotions to a certain degree. It's detrimental. And I think a lot of these Democratic governors are definitely doing the right thing, joining the Republican governors and lifting so many of these mandates. I know the New York governor was lifting the mask mandates. in stores and restaurants, but left the mask mandate for the kids, which didn't make a lot of sense to me. But I think, honestly, a lot of these Democrat governors are jumping on board with lifting a lot of these mandates because of the upcoming elections. And that's unfortunate. This should never be health concern. Public health should never be tied into politics. It's disgusting. And so many small business owners, including restaurants and salons, and so many small businesses have had to close down because of these restrictions. And where do they go to start over? I mean, so many of these people that make these rules, they have a nice, cushy, comfy job, a nice pension. They're able to have little Zoom meetings. They're not out there busting their butt for over 12 to 14 hours a day. When you have a small business, which I've never had a small business, but I do know that you have to hustle. You often don't even take a paycheck. And I think so many of these mandates have been so foolish, and they've been all about control. And I'm glad to see that a lot of this is coming to an end. I'm especially excited about this Canadian Freedom Convoy that's been taking place. It's spreading around the world now. It's starting to go to France. It's going to be coming here. I've heard that they're going to have a convoy from California to Washington, D.C. And Prophet Bob Jones, I didn't even know who this was. I've heard some of the other Christian prophets refer to him. He had passed away in 2014, but he had talked about the geese going before the eagle, and he even mentioned honkers, and it's the Canadian truckers that he was seeing. And I am so proud of our Canadian brothers and sisters for standing up, because they are the little guy. They represent the blue collar worker, the backbone of our nation. And without truckers, the society is not going to be able to function. And I know that these governments are going to find this out if they haven't already, and they're going to find it out the hard way. I do know that I think it's Alberta, Prince Edward Island, several areas have definitely, they're lifting the vaccine, the mandate, the passport mandate. And I'll have to look and see like how many different areas have lifted it, but it's definitely having an impact. The only one that doesn't seem to understand that he needs to get on board is Justin Trudeau. I did see a speech where he's so foolishly, he's holding on and he's threatening them. I'm going to find that real quick here. Hold on one second. I'm trying to get a little bit smoother at my streaming. I figured out a lot of hotkeys, but I'm not quite 100% there, but I will with practice. I definitely have learned that I can't wait for people to join the live stream to chat and everything. I have to just go with it and keep moving forward. But I came across this video. I'm going to see if this has where Justin Trudeau is. He's threatening prison sentences for these protesters. And I'm just thinking, like, if it were BLM or Antifa, they can burn down businesses. And they've even burned down, I think it was a pawn shop with somebody inside. And the guy gets off almost with no sentence. And it's so disgusting. But when it's hardworking, average Americans, average Canadians, it's, let's lay down the law on them. If you try to defend yourself or defend your freedom, they're coming for you. But if you are burning down a city, you're fine. Just slap. And I remember Kamala Harris even paid for a lot of these rioters. She paid for their bail for a lot of these BLM rioters. Now, there were peaceful protesters in the BLM movement, don't get me wrong, but the ones that were arsonists, looters, destroying property, they're not lumped in with the peaceful protesters.
Endangering jobs.
Let's see here.
Ottawa, Windsor, Coutts, or Emerson. They're endangering jobs. They're threats to our economy and to public safety. The blockades are hurting small businesses and neighborhoods. They're impacting trade, supply chains, and manufacturing. This morning, I had a direct call with President Biden to talk about our shared challenges at the border. We discussed the American and indeed global influences on the protest, the US-based flooding of the 911 phone lines in Ottawa, the presence of US citizens in the blockades, and the impact of foreign money to fund this illegal activity. The border cannot and will not remain closed. I want to remind everyone that politicians don't direct police in a democratic society, but I can assure you, everything is on the table because this unlawful activity has to end.
So, he was all for the BLM protesters, but when it threatens his power, his absolute power, he's more of a dictator than I've ever seen. Then he's all for calling out the police and ending this. But when it's protesting anything else, call him in, count him in. I remember Gretchen Whitmer, she was out with the protesters. None of them were wearing masks or anything. And that was quite disgusting. When it's a movement that's violent, they're all for it. But when it's a hard-working average Joe, obviously not. Can't allow that. These truckers, though, they are so firm and strong, and I support them 100%. And I am very grateful to them for all that they do moving goods throughout our country, throughout Canada, throughout the United States. Without them, we would not have the lifestyle that we have now, which is slowly dissolving due to this 7.5 inflation rate. My paycheck is disappearing before it even goes into my account. Most of it's gone already, and I am so behind, whereas I was getting ahead with when President Trump was in office.
And it will end. If you joined the protests because you're tired of COVID, you now need to understand that you're breaking laws. We've heard your frustration with COVID, with the measures
They're frustrated with you, buddy.
that are there to keep people safe. We've heard you. It's time to go home now.
They ain't leaving until you lift all of these stupid mandates. I don't know. I see him resigning. I definitely see him stepping down. He doesn't want to let go of power, though, so it's going to take a while.
And manufacture.
So I think Justin Trudeau is about my least favorite Canadian Prime Minister. I mean, I don't know too many of them. The last one, Harper, he was actually quite conservative. And I really did like him quite a lot. Oh my gosh, I didn't notice there's people in the chat. I am so sorry. Let's see. I'm looking. Gee, truckers are losing everything. Hi, Self-Made Money. I just noticed someone in the chat. I decided I'm just starting without waiting for people to be in the chat, because the one time I went live and it was my live streams are usually a hot mess. I think it's going to take me probably about a year before I'm comfortable learning the hotkeys and everything like that. But it is definitely nice to see when some people join the chat, because a lot of times I'll just bail out of the live stream before I give it a chance. But let's see here. Trying to make the chat larger. There we go. Okay, and then let's see. The next thing that I had to talk about regarding the Canadian Trucker Rally is the Bob Jones prophecy. So I was blown away. I do follow a lot of Christian prophetic channels, such as Elijah Streams, Anna Marie Strahan, and just to name a few. I'm totally new to the Christian prophetic movement. I was raised Baptist, and I've never really knew much about the I guess it's through the Word of Faith movement, basically. But they don't all agree completely on the same doctrine, which I don't care about. But I definitely have seen so many of their prophecies come true, and it's just filled me with so much encouragement. But Bob Jones had a prophecy about the geese would come first, and then the eagle would follow. And Anna Marie Strahan, she was a NASCAR coach who the Lord told her to give up her coaching business to become have a full-time ministry through YouTube and Facebook and everything. And her family wasn't on board at first, but she was faithful, and she started out with very few followers, but she has built an audience. But she kept having a vision of Canadian geese flooding Washington, D.C. And she didn't really know what to make of that. And it was definitely about Canadian geese. And Bob Jones had a word about the honkers, and the geese would come first and then the eagle. And the Lord had shown Anna Marie Strahan that the eagle is Donald Trump. That's what he's always called, Donald Trump, in a lot of the visions that she has had. And it was really interesting because I had seen Barry Wench. He's a Canadian prophet, and he comes on Elijah Streams once a week or more, sometimes every couple weeks. But the Holy Spirit is definitely, there's definitely an anointing on him. He often, it looks like he's in pain a lot of times when he's giving his words from the Lord. He gets like, they call it like gut crunches. And I thought at first that he had Tourette syndrome, but anyway, it was so interesting because he had that same word from Bob Jones about the honkers, and then they showed some footage of the Canadian Trucker Rally, and I started to cry, the host started to cry, the prophet started to cry, because it's definitely a prophecy fulfilled, and it's going to spread to the United States, which it already is. I live in Michigan, and the Ambassador Bridge is tied up I don't know if any of it's open yet, but it's impacting the auto industry. They're having to shut down I think they had to change the hours or the shift for the Ford plant. And it's just so interesting because a lot of these leaders are almost helpless to do anything. They can threaten, but they can't hardly haul away these massive semi trucks. And it's just been beautiful to see. And especially since it's been spreading to France, it's really exciting to me. And I'm looking to see. And I know some people probably think it's a little... a lot of people probably don't follow the prophets, but I definitely... I stand by that 100%. Some of the prophets said Donald Trump would come into office, he'd get the second term right away. And when it didn't happen immediately, some of them backed off of their word. And I definitely, I had a dream. I don't really consider it a prophetic dream. I don't believe that I have that sort of an anointing. But I saw Donald Trump having red, white, and blue confetti streaming down and him smiling so brightly. And that was the night of the election. And it was so real. It was so real I could feel it. And I woke up and I'm like, oh, he won. Awesome. Because I felt like I had seen that on TV. And I woke up and I thought it was just a dream. And I was like, but it was so real. And from that moment on, and then the Lord had me stumble across these prophets when I was trying to look to see if there was any psychics that had stated Trump was going to get that second term. And I was looking to the psychics, which is not right. And I know that as a Christian. I don't believe in following psychic words. But I was kind of desperate because it was still up in the air and there were still, there were so many states in question. And I felt like he had such a huge lead in Pennsylvania that night that I thought there's no way it wasn't going to come out the way I expected it. And then it just dragged on. But when I did a search for psychics, it was like it landed right on the prophets and right to Elijah's dreams. And I feel like that was a hand of God. Okay, let's see. Please cover them getting arrested. Okay, I'm looking at the chat right now. Yeah, I've seen that on the news here. Let me switch over. Whoops. 2, 3. Okay. I'm going to go on there now. Yeah, I wasn't going to do any more live streams, but for whatever reason, I'm compelled to. For better or for worse. I definitely can't. It's not an addiction because it is scary to go live because you can definitely freeze up and not think of your next thing to say. I do notice a lot of people that do